Thanks for listening to Middle Aged and Mediocre. I'm Cash.
I'm Joel.
And we are a podcast about all things strange and unusual, death and UFOs, and other creepy,
Cults,
weird, random
ghosts.
stories. There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm just naming things in the room.
Oh my god.
There's a cult of ghosts.
Alright, so thanks for listening. We are middle-aged and mediocre.
We sure are.
And we are recording this on
9/11.
9/11.
Did you want to have a little bit more space there before you said it?
I mean, I don't...
I felt like you were asking me. I'm sorry. I'm like all trivia it out. You know, I'm ready to like jump in there with the answer.
I've been asking some pretty hard questions, like, what is today?
It's a Friday.
What is the significance?
TGIF.
What's the significance
But not
of this
too
day?
much TGIF, because it is 9/11.
It is. So this is what, the 19th anniversary?
No, God, 19.
Right? 2001?
Yep, 19th
Yeah.
anniversary.
So...
I started my job on the first anniversary. I started my job a month before the first anniversary.
Oh, at the the
Yep.
eyeglasses place?
Yep.
Wow.
I know.
So...
I'm old. And I've
So that's
had
how you
the
keep
same
track of it.
job for yeah. Because we went outside and we haven't since, but we had like
You
a
haven't went
moment of
outside
silence. No, they don't let us. No, we had like a flag hanging there. Like we went outside and we all stood there silently at the group, like whenever the time the first plane hit.
Mm.
And now, well, I did. We lowered the flags today to half staff, half mast. Half mast.
I was wondering about that today.
I googled it, and that's what Google said.
I think it's weird that...
Because it's Patriots Day, is what they call it now.
Right, but I think it's weird that we do that. I think it's weird that we lower the flag, because like, I think of like...
Raise that motherfucker
raising
up, man.
it would mean like
Yeah.
we're at the... Like we're strong, right?
Yeah.
So
But I
then-
guess they do it just to like honor, those who've fallen.
How old was I then? 2001? I'd have been...
Math.
18-ish?
18-ish, yeah.
Something
How old
like
are
that.
you now?
37.
37, yeah. 18.
Yeah.
Man, you were a pup.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know what...
So you
I
just
don't-
got out of preschool.
I honestly don't remember what I was doing.
Really?
Not really. Like, I remember... Like, I went driving around that day.
Like, how did you hear about it?
I'm sure just on the news.
Because we didn't have... That was kind of before texting, cell phones, everything like that.
Yeah, but I don't think you could have the TV on that day without...
Oh, yeah.
That
It
big-
hit every channel.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure that's how.
Because I was at work. I was not at the movie theater. I was not at the glasses place. I worked at a farmer's market. And my cousin called me to tell me. We didn't have a radio, TV, anything there. It was like fruit and
Right.
vegetables and fucking work, motherfucker. So I like begged my boss, and he let me walk across the Family Dollar, and I bought a radio and took it back, and we just listened to it on the radio all day, like a bunch of people in the friggin' 50s or something. It was a weird way to, because then I got off work and I saw all the images and everything.
Yeah.
It's,
I think I had just started. I had just quit the movie theater job not too long before that, and I think I had just started like a telemarketing job, which I then quit like a week later. And like one of the reasons I quit is because at the time, it was like a pretty, it was the only thing you could really think of.
Yeah.
Like it kind of consumed your thoughts.
And
I remember somebody, like whoever I called, said, I'm sure they were just trying to, like, they're being an asshole because a telemarketer was calling them, but they said something like really shitty about like it being a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just remember I was like really fucking pissed off about it. And like I just didn't want to. I also just didn't want that job anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember I was like, "What the fuck?" It was like a week. It was the same week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw today that Paul Krugman, that political pundit analyst dude that's supposed to, he's always comes across as this like well-educated, very intelligent smart, well thought guy. He said today about how when 9/11 happened, America really didn't panic, and there really wasn't any violence or striking out against Muslim Americans. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, that's all I heard about.
Yeah, I was
going to
say,
the
I
next
remember,
year.
Yeah. And there's still probably like a stigma.
And there's still, yeah. But
and it could have been an inside job. I don't know.
Well,
I've seen some YouTube videos, but I'm no expert.
What's the thing? Something doesn't melt steel beams. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, people died. It was a shitty day.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
There's a super weird flag right here on my street, like near my street.
So weird.
You said you saw it.
Yeah, like they made it themselves. It's like a kind of patchwork.
I don't even know what it looks like. A giant blanket.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a patchwork blanket. That's a good
But like instead of where the stars would be in the flag, they've got the towers.
But it's just kind of, I don't know, just two. Looks like I thought it was 11, but yeah, I guess they were towers too.
They're towers. Yeah.
Okay.
The one's a little bit taller.
All right. I was going by pretty fast.
And then like there's black lines.
And then a red line, and then a blue one.
It's such a weird flag.
Yeah, it's like black, white, one red, one blue.
Blue for police, red for fire. The firemen.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like the towers part for some reason it's creepy.
Yeah,
I was gonna get a picture of it, but there was people like right behind me. But it's a very creepy flag.
Did they just put it up today?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't up yesterday.
I might have to wait for next year then. The 20 year.
It wasn't there. It hasn't been there before. Like this is their first year.
I've never seen it. Saw a bunch of Trump signs.
Yeah, that whole street.
And the Captain America Trump banner.
Well, I mean, if anyone is Captain America, it's the guy that
makes me think of all the Reagan banners they used to do with like him as Superman.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, no, they didn't do that.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh, did they really?
Oh yeah.
Reagan as Superman?
Oh, I'm positive.
No. Are you fucking with me?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
No, I'm really pretty sure.
Okay, I'll believe you then.
Because
I just don't think I've ever seen like politicians' faces like superimposed.
No. Trump is Reagan. Like they mirror each other. Like all the same shit that happened with that's happening with Trump.
Yeah.
That shit's already all happened. It's already all happened with Reagan.
That motherfucker.
He was just as fucking racist.
Is there a Reagan Rambo? Because I've seen the Trump Rambo.
I mean, at the time, no. Because I mean,
there
at the time,
can be though, right? Wink.
Yeah.
You make it.
They still Trump supporters still look at Reagan as the greatest thing to ever live until Trump.
Next to Trump.
Yeah, and then Nixon's right there too.
Yeah.
So, three
Trump
of the worst
2020
presidents in the history of our.
Yeah. Hopefully, Woodward can bring down two of the three.
I mean, probably not.
No.
At this point, if people are still
they're dug
it's
in.
a cult, man.
They're dug in. We're dug in.
It's cult mentality. It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, who knows what the fuck's gonna happen?
Not me.
Well, Biden.
We're gonna record an episode.
Biden might get elected and then die within a year.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
We're gonna have to put some bets out there.
Or the dude's been I told somebody the other day that I'm pretty sure they've just been pumping Biden full of whatever to keep him alive.
Yeah.
And then right around the time the debates pick up, they're just going to start injecting steroids.
They've been giving him pills, and afterwards they're going to just give him sugar pills.
Just something to keep him going for a little while. Just get him into the White House, and then if he dies, he dies.
Yeah. If he dies, he dies.
Rocky. So yeah. Anyways, man, have I told you yet that I think
that I'm the best?
No,
Josh?
that's not where I was going with it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That I think my house is haunted.
You have not told me
or that I have there's something going on.
I'm looking around now, and I don't see any ghosts.
Yeah,
motherfucking liar.
A few weeks ago, actually a month and a half, 2 months ago, one of my cats started sitting up in the window of the living room, looking out at the porch, and just spent all day.
Yeah.
All day, all night, sitting in that window.
Just transfixed.
Looking out of the porch. Meowing really loud. So then, we didn't really think anything out of it. We thought, there's probably another cat out there.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's fixed, but he still might,
Maybe he has, ghost pains, or what do they call those?
I have no idea.
Phantom pains or whatever. Yeah.
So we really didn't think anything about
Phantom cat dig limb.
Well, then all of a sudden, my dog started. He refuses to go on the porch. He's always, for 6 years now, he goes outside to pee and everything. He goes out.
He's a good boy.
On the porch and goes outside.
Yeah.
Well, now he will not go on the porch.
Oh.
And he really won't be in the living room. He stays backed into the corner or in one of the bedrooms.
Oh.
And if he is out, like, backed into the corner of the living room, he's, like, just staring towards the porch. So we thought maybe something died under the porch, but you can't smell anything.
Sure.
People kept saying that there's probably a snake nest or nest of snakes, which I Googled, and like only a few snakes lay eggs, and the rest, like a nest of them, is just a shitload of fucking snakes. So like I took my camera out there, like used a little tripod, and like I held it up to the top of the porch and like filmed everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no snakes. Because people said dogs can smell snakes and they're afraid of them, but then I guess that's not even completely true. So anyways, that, couple weird things with the animals.
Yeah.
The normal stuff of, like, the cats, like, looking and just staring at something.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Nothing
normal,
there. They're
normal
just...
stuff. Well, now, I've started hearing things. The other morning, I had been awake for like 15, 20 minutes, just laying in bed. And I all of a sudden, right outside my door, heard a male voice say, like, get up or giddy up. Something like that. Like, really fucking loud. And, like, I mean, it sounded like there was somebody right out my door. Like, right outside. So I, like, jumped up, went, opened the door, nothing there. Then, the other night, I'm in the bathroom. And right as I'm about to
What were you doing in there?
No, jerking off. And right as I'm in the bathroom, right as I'm about to open the bathroom door, I hear, like, the only way I can describe it is, like, so, like, the way, like, a frog croaks.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, just, like, so, like, that.
Yeah.
But, like somebody was speaking in that. So, like, words, but, like, in that sound.
Yeah, real
so, like,
kind of baritone or whatever.
And then I heard, like, a woman's voice say, stop it. I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
So I open the door, there's nothing.
I don't...
So I was like, what the fuck? And then for years, the kitchen cabinets open. There's open.
Yeah.
Only at night. I've always just assumed it's the cats. It's opening the cabinets.
Sure.
But we've never, ever seen the cats actually go in there and open the doors.
They've never done it in the day.
Never during the day. It's always at night.
It's almost dark, and it's been a lot of fun recording this week's episode. But I'm gonna go.
So I might have my own haunting. We can eventually talk. Like,
wow. Now there's an app on iPhones that can read paranormal activity.
Really?
My boss.
Is that true?
I don't know if I don't think it really works, but my boss, like years ago, one of our buildings on where I work on the property, there's like an old house they use for storage. She like brought someone in to do a seance, and I was like, all right, I gotta see this. And I walk over there, and she's like using an iPhone, and just like, oh, this room's clear. Like there was like some like app on the iPhone she was using that was letting her know, and I can't remember everything she said, but it was like, creepy basement, and of course that's where everything was. And
there's EVP recorders, and EMF detectors.
Oh man! So when we're done here, maybe turn the lights off, take our pants off, and try to catch some ghosts.
Get a little comfortable. There's like a paranormal investigation simulator. I don't know.
I believe in that shit. I mean, something.
I mean,
you know, spirits
or
whatever.
Shit where there was like dead flies.
Oh, I forgot all about that shit.
I think about it all the time.
Really?
Because it's the weirdest shit ever.
Yeah, last summer I came home from work on lunch, and, 25 dead flies just in my bathroom.
All in the same spot.
Yeah. Man, that was crazy.
That was so fucking weird. Like, flies don't just die in a bundle.
They could be flying around my apartment. And
like, why would a swarm of flies just all drop down the same
why'd you have to drop that on me now?
I can't believe you don't think about it all the time.
I can't stay here. I can't go home. Looks like I'm sleeping in my car again.
No, I think about it all the time.
Oh,
it's
shit.
So fucking weird.
When was that? I think I posted about it or something.
Like
yeah,
last year,
because it's really hot. Because we were like, maybe because it was hot. And I was like, it's no hotter today than yesterday.
And again,
like,
I think they all just dropped dead together.
I think flies have been in the heat. I mean, it's
yeah.
Because
it seemed like I said at the time, like somebody put them there.
Yeah.
Which opens up all sorts of questions.
I wonder if I just like search for flies on my Facebook if I could find something about it.
I don't know.
Ah, man, how did I forget about that?
I had no idea. I guess you just like pushed it down deep.
But I think that we had I think I lived in a haunted house in South Carolina. There it is. July 9th, 2019. A dozen or so dead flies on my bathroom floor. There were 0 dead flies on my bathroom floor when I left the house 4 hours prior.
Yeah, you had pictures too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
there's just dead flies all over my bathroom floor.
It's like something like it looks like gas or something went through your house, your apartment, and like gassed them.
Maybe I took a big old stinky steamer.
That's the part you're leaving out.
I don't think I pooped in 2019 though.
That's true. You were on the no poop.
Yeah, that was my New Year's resolution.
It was weird. I'm glad.
I've had enough of this shit.
I'm glad that finally ended.
Yep.
Yeah.
2020's been so shitty.
That's the
extra
thing.
shitty.
You opened the gates.
I did. I opened the gates.
So you were haunted in South. You had a haunted house in South Carolina.
Yeah. Just same thing. Weird stuff would happen, like cabinet doors open. My mom tells a story of she was home alone. Like us 3 boys had the master bedroom, or the biggest bedroom, the main bedroom.
Right.
And it had a bathtub with a sliding glass door. And my mom was home, and like she heard it fall and break. She went and checked on it, or something that sounded like it, and it wasn't broken. She went back, whatever she's doing, heard it again, went in there, and it was broken.
That's weird.
Yeah, and we had the washer and dryer would the washer would just turn on. And we had a dog named Lassie. It was a border collie, like best dog ever. But like my dad tried to get her to go out in the garage with her to check the washer, and she wouldn't go. And we found out that the girl that lived there died, and she was, because her best friend still lived across the street. And they told us about it. So I don't know. And I think I may have seen her at the window once, but I'm not. It's so long ago.
Yeah.
But I just remember walking down the hall. And seeing her in what was her bedroom, looking across the street at her best friend's house. And as a kid, I was pretty damn sure that I saw it, but I'm 41, pretty jaded now, but
right.
I definitely felt something in that house. It always felt off, felt weird. She did die. I mean, that was a true thing. They moved and then she died, but she always loved living there because her best friend was across the street, you know, and so forth, so forth.
Yeah, I always want that stuff to be true.
Yeah.
That would just be way more interesting than the life we live in.
I told that story in junior high, and kids, they made fun of me for it. Because this is after I moved to a high, and I'm just trying to make friends, I'm like, I live in the haunted house.
I had a ghost friend.
They called me Robert Stack. Unsolved Mysteries.
That's a weird insult, though.
Kids fucking suck.
All right, I'm a super successful dude that has his own show. Burn.
Yeah. I always felt that when people. Oh yeah, go.
Yeah, I lived in a house when it was my 5th grade year, because it was the year that we got the fucking feet of snow. I forget how many feet it was, and half of the rest of my year was basically just us watching movies because we missed so much.
Yeah, it was
school.
mid-90s.
Yeah, but I lived in a house. We only lived there for a year, and I remember I heard stuff constantly. I heard voices all the time. And it was only me and my mom that lived there. And just me and my mom. And there were voices all the time.
You hear voices in your head?
Just they speak to me. There was random doors would open and shut all night long. There was random knocking, all this stuff. And then I remember I was out back. There was out back there was just a little tiny little patch of woods. And I would go out there sometimes. And on the back of the house one day, it was not there one day, and then the next day I went outside, and on the back of the house somebody had carved in the word "leave."
What?
On the house, and it scared the shit out of me.
Well, yeah.
And we didn't live there much longer after that. I don't know if I remember why we moved exactly. Like, I think my mom heard shit too.
Yeah.
But didn't want to scare me, so I think she was trying to. So, yeah.
Man, we're just talking this shit into existence now. The more you believe in it.
This is a lead up because tonight's episode.
Oh, shit. More ghosts?
We're going to talk about America's First Ghost. Don't know if you have ever heard.
I need like an emotional. Do you think Scooby-Doo was an emotional support dog?
I think Shaggy was an emotional support human for Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's more because Scooby could talk, so he knew what was going on.
He did.
So, but he was trying to deal with that. He was like, "I'm the only dog that can talk,"
and this guy's high all the time.
Like, so I've got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
These fucking humans
representing like a whole crimes. Species. Yeah, it's not enough that you can talk.
And Scrappy showed up. Kind of just ruined everything for Scooby.
That's like Oliver showing up on the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, fucking
Cousin Oliver.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
I mean, I remember, like, I know it happened, but I don't remember watching it. I think it was a little before my time.
I mean, I watched reruns. I wasn't like...
I don't watch reruns.
It wasn't down between me and the other guy for Oliver. Like, I wasn't up for the role. I watched reruns.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not why you're bringing it up? You don't have repressed feelings about losing out to that kid?
If I would have been a ginger fuck, I could have been Cousin Oliver.
Shit, I could have been if I would have born a little bit earlier. Yep. So, yeah, we're going to talk about...
butts, baby, or sex.
Butts. Let's talk about butts, baby.
Let's talk about butts, sex.
So we're going to go way, way back to April 25th, 1776.
Jesus.
When David and Joanna Hooper's second child, Eleanor, was born. David was a veteran of the American Revolution and was now...
Thank you for your service, David, if you're listening.
And was now settled down and living in East Franklin, Maine. With his wife Joanna, their first child, and now Eleanor. Eleanor was the second of 9 children that Joanna gave birth to in a span of 9 years.
They be fucking.
Just fucking. Although I wonder if they just fucked like once a year.
Yeah.
Like just once, boom, did it. Popped out another one. Because that dude was like a war veteran, so, you know.
Yeah.
He had the right stuff.
The right white stuff.
Eleanor came to be known around town as Nelly. And at the age of 19, she met a young sea captain named George Butler. A sea captain.
Sea captain.
That would be, I always feel like that would be the worst job in the world back then. You're just on the goddamn sea all the time.
Too. I don't think they had walkie-talkies and
so
radio
easy to get
communication back then.
No.
Like, if you run into a wall, just come back. We don't know what's out there. There could be like a wall.
We know dragons could.
You might fall off. I don't know. Is it flat?
No idea what's there. His father Moses had also fought in the American Revolution, and was regarded as one of the first English settlers in Franklin, Maine. Nellie and George married and lived on Butler Point in Franklin. So must have been like the family. I think owned a sawmill. So, I mean, the property they lived on was named after them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you settle the land, you get to name it what the fuck you want.
If you have more than 5 kids, they just give you land.
True.
Or they used to.
Nellie became pregnant 2 years after their marriage, but died on June 13th, 1797, from complications stemming from childbirth.
Ugh.
And she was buried on Butler Point in an unmarked grave, which seems shitty to me.
Yeah.
Like...
Man.
It wasn't her fault.
Yeah, they're pretty mad about it.
Yeah, so...
What happened to the baby?
So, we bring up Nellie, and now she's dead.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you can already see where that's going or not, but we're gonna...
Zombies?
We're going to take an ad break.
Okay.
And then we're going to come right back, and we'll keep going with the story of America's First Ghost. All right. So... Nellie's dead, leaving George Butler.
R.I.P.
The kid died too.
Oh.
The kid died during childbirth, actually, and then she died like a day later. So yeah, and then he just like throws her in an unmarked grave.
Unmarked grave.
I don't know if that was a custom thing.
Were there tombstones back then?
Like, I feel like he would have to be upset. Like,
yeah.
He'd have to hold some sort of like hostile feelings against her to be like, you don't get a fucking headstone. Because the family was wealthy, too. They could have afforded...
Yeah, like, even if he didn't want one, the parents or somebody.
Right. So, the dude, though, this is George. 2 years later, 29-year-old George would meet and begin a relationship with 15-year-old Lydia Blaisdell.
Ugh. Gulp.
Which at first I thought, like, oh, it's 1797. Well, this time I guess it'd be 1799.
Still, that's
Yeah, back
29 and 15.
Then I looked into it, and like no one was cool with that even then.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're a grown ass man.
Lydia lived with her parents, of course. Abner and Mary, about 10 miles down the road from George, and they lived in Sullivan, Maine. She was the second of 7 children. Abner Blaisdell was also a veteran of the American Revolution. I'm assuming just every guy over a certain age.
Unless you had bone spurs.
Unless you had bone spurs, and your widow feet couldn't take it.
Yeah, if little tiny feet couldn't help American Revolution, you stay home.
He was a veteran of the American Revolution and was a very religious person. The family prayed together and sought to live their lives right in the eyes of God. Abner was not super cool with the fact that 29-year-old George was putting the moves on his 15-year-old daughter. And the town of Sullivan was pretty small, with only a handful of families living there, and no one in the community was actually very keen on this relationship happening either.
Like George, is that his name, George? He's like the only one, the two in the relationship.
And Abner made it very clear, he was very vocal about his disapproval for this thing. So he let everyone know, like, I don't want this to happen. So Lydia spent most of 1799 in the cellar of her home sorting and picking wool fleece, which sounds like a hell of a way to spend your time.
Sure.
In December of 1799, she became very ill and bedridden. It was during this time that she began to hear knocking sounds coming from the cellar. She told her father, who went and searched the cellar for the source of these sounds, but ultimately he found nothing. Just to be on the safe side, though, Abner gathered the family to pray, and they prayed that if these noises were some form of deception, God would make them aware of the deception. But if the noises were coming from God himself, they prayed that the noises remain. Yeah. We've all done that.
Keep on knocking, God.
God, if you started it up, keep
knocking
brother.
on my cellar door.
The knocking continued, and now it wasn't only Lydia who could hear it, but the whole family. Oh. Along with this, around the same time, they were
like, "Who's there?"
That this started happening, she started getting better. Not too long after the knocking had began, the family started to hear a disembodied woman's voice as well. It was also coming from the cellar. At first, they couldn't understand what it was saying, and for about a month, they would hear the knocking and the voice, but could never find anything while searching the cellar and the rest of the home. The voice would move all over the cellar, though. It would just be in different corners of the cellar, just all over the place. And eventually, the woman's voice claimed to be on a mission from God. Then, on January 2nd of 1800, a female ghost, glowing and shrouded in white, would appear to the family, telling them that she was the ghost of Nelly Butler. So Nelly's back.
She's back.
She's back from the grave.
She's like, y'all should have marked me.
And why was she there? What was the mission she was on? You have any guesses what she's doing there?
She's mad that her husband's taken up with the 15-year-old?
The opposite.
Oh.
She's there to ensure that Lydia and George get married.
Oh.
She actually ordered
She's like
it
the
to be done.
wingman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Winged man.
That's
She's an angel. Yeah. She's a ghost.
She's a winged person.
Yeah.
Quoting the ghost. The parties must and would be joined, and what God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. This is coming from a ghost, so I mean,
I picture a reporter there with like the hat with the feather in it, like writing it down, like all hurriedly.
Joined together, okay? And this is from God.
This is from Page right here.
And now Abner, who had been super opposed to a relationship of any sort between Lydia and George, he came around on the whole thing.
Ghosts will do that to you.
He thought it was the will of God.
Yeah.
So he was like, who the fuck am I to stand in the way of God? The ghost of Nelly Butler then ordered Abner and Lydia to go speak.
Bossy ghost.
To go speak with George's father, Moses, and let him know what was happening, and that she wanted George and Lydia to be married. And to really hammer home that this was God's doing, she directed them to recite a specific scripture to George's father. It states, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So, they were like, only a ghost put here by God would know the scripture.
Yeah.
So, how else would they know these words? So, so I think this is also super weird. Like, I know it's still, I'm sure it's, I've never proposed. I've never went through the whole marriage thing. I'm sure people still...
for real quick.
Yeah?
Don't
do it?
Okay.
I didn't know how you felt about it.
I just wanted to get that out there. I wouldn't.
I'm sure some people still do the whole thing of, like, getting approval from...
ask
like, a blessing.
Yeah.
But how weird is it that it used to be,
I got lucky because my wife's dad, he dead. Yeah, no one to ask.
How weird is it, though, that it used to be, like...
Soon to be ex-wife.
We have to get... like, the parents have to be, like, sign off on this, or it can't happen.
Yeah.
Because if you went ahead and did it, you'd be, like, shunned.
Disrespect. Yeah.
It's so weird. Anyways.
Either ask the dad or have a ghost convince them.
Yeah, that's, well...
It's the only two ways.
Abner and Lydia immediately embarked on the journey to Franklin, Maine. Again, it's only about 10 miles away, but this is the year 1800.
So it took like 3 weeks.
So,
it's goddamn Oregon Trail.
You don't have cars and everything. It's also, they're happening to do this.
They're like, pack up the dysentery, let's go.
They're doing this in the middle of a blizzard.
Oh, this is definitely Oregon Trail.
And they even had to walk on sheets of ice to cross the Taunton River. So that, this is like a fucking, like...
The ghost sent them out on a 10-mile hike during a blizzard over a frozen lake or whatever.
Like, yeah, they're like crossing sheets of ice. Like, Jesus. This is like a full-on expedition.
Yeah.
During the trip, Lydia expressed that she was not really feeling the whole marriage thing and questioned why they were following orders from a ghost.
Yeah.
But then during the trip, the ghost of Nelly appeared to Lydia and consoled her and urged her to press on through the storm and carry out the word of God.
So, get that dick, girl.
In times of doubt, there's the ghost. When they finally...
I already have this case solved.
George
is the ghost.
George is the ghost.
Yeah.
That's what you think is going on?
They're going to take the mask off, and it's been George the whole time. And he would have got away with it if it weren't for us.
I mean, one does wonder why the ghost of Nelly is making them travel.
Yeah.
She can apparently just show up.
Just go
middle of the journey.
Talk to George.
Just go all the way to Moses.
Yeah, Moses.
You do the fucking trip.
Nelly.
You prove it. Like,
she's, I thought she was like hard to deal with when she was alive. Now she's dead. It's gone to her head. She's bossing everybody around.
So they finally get to George's father's house. They tell him the whole story. They recite the scripture. And George's father, by the way, he's opposed this whole fucking marriage thing too. Like, he's also like, you're 29 years old. God damn it. Like, she's 15. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I didn't raise you to be no
pedophile. So yeah, he's not cool with it either. And after listening to what Abner and Lydia had to say, he basically told them to fuck off. He wasn't buying...
Fuck it offeth.
He wasn't buying any of it. And it was actually disgusted that they would show up and feed him some sort of story about his dead daughter-in-law returning as a ghost. I mean, that does have to be pretty awkward.
Like, take that shit up the road, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like Moses.
Yeah. So, however, after they left...
Is this before or after he split the sea?
This is after. He's been retired from sea splitting for a little while now.
Sea splitting.
He split the sea, fought in the American Revolution. He's called it a day.
Had a couple kids.
So he starts to have second thoughts, though. Because he knows that Abner is really opposed to this whole thing. So he starts to wonder why, and he can't think of an explanation as to why Abner would risk his own life and his daughter Lydia's life to make this trip during the middle of this blizzard to suddenly encourage a marriage that he'd been so opposed to. So this gets Moses thinking, like, it's a lot of effort for this. So, as soon as Abner and Lydia return home, they begin hearing the knocking coming from the cellar once again. And Nelly shows up. So they get back. Hey, how'd it go?
Yeah. Moses pretty pumped about this wedding.
Doing this?
Y'all set a date?
And no, he's not cool with it. Like, he told us to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I mean...
He threw things at us. So now she says, all right, well, go see David Hooper, which is her father. And then go see George. and arrange for them to come and see me in person. And I'll put this whole thing to rest.
Yeah.
So they're like, we just got back from a fucking 10-mile
Yeah, it's kind of snowing out there.
Do you mind if we take a goddamn break? So the next morning, they make the trip, though, to David Hooper's. They tell David the story. They told him that Nelly wanted him to come see her at the home. And David's just like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. I'll head that way. So he's headed that way. They go on, find George, tell George the same thing. George is like, yeah, man.
Why? They should try to call somebody.
Yeah. They need to invent phones. Yeah. So then he agrees to it, too. He's like, yeah, that's fine. So David arrives at the home first. And according to his own testimony, so later we'll find out that there's this traveling evangelist guy that shows up, and he ends up taking a bunch of people's testimony. And he later would, in 1859, he'd publish a book. Here's the title of this goddamn thing.
Okay.
Immortality proved by the testimony of sense, in which is contemplated the doctrine of specters and the existence of a particular specter addressed to the candor of this enlightened age. That is a lot.
I don't even know.
To show up on Amazon looking for a book. His name was
hard to remember.
Yeah, his name was Abraham Cummings, though. He was he was a Harvard graduate, smart dude, like I said, an evangelist, whatever. So he gathers all this testimony. And according to David Hooper, Nelly's father, his own testimony, he's greeted by the ghost of his dead daughter. And he says that, quote,
clean your room.
By the request of the specter, sent by 2 messengers, I went to Abner Blaisdell's house, and by conversing with her, obtained such clear and irresistible tokens of her being the spirit of my own daughter, as gave me no less satisfaction than admiration and delight. She gave a reason satisfactory to me why she put me to the trouble of coming there instead of her coming to my house. So he's like, hey, this is a real fucking deal. It's her. Not too long after David had conversed with the ghost of his daughter, George arrived at the Blaisdell house, and he's got his friend Frederic Halzov with him.
Frederic!
They go into the cellar, and they meet with Nelly's ghost. According to, quoting George here, when I was called to talk with this voice, I asked, who are you? It answered, I was once your wife. The voice asked me, do you remember what I told you when I was alive? I answered,
women, man, women always... Man, always.
Do you remember?
Do you?
Huh?
Remember what I said?
I bet you don't remember what I said. You weren't even listening.
Oh, all right.
Well, to support her theory, I answered, I do not really know what you mean. The voice said,
remind me a little bit.
Do you not remember I told you I did not think I should live long with you? I told you that if you were to leave me, I should never wish to change my condition. But that if I was to leave you, I could not blame you if you did. This passed between... So then he goes on to say, this passed between me and my first wife while she was alive, and there was no living person within hearing but she and myself. And I am sure that this was never revealed to any person, and no living person could have told it to me before the voice did. So he's like, yeah, I totally remember when she said that.
Yeah.
And it was just us. She probably didn't have any friends that she also told that she didn't think.
Yeah. No one heard it.
So then he keeps going, and he says, there was something appeared to my view right before me, like a person in a winding sheet, and her arms folded under the winding sheet, and on her arm there appeared to be a very small child. By this appearance I did not know possibly, but I might be deceived. I reached out my left hand to take hold of it. I saw my hand in the middle of it, but could feel nothing. The same evening it appeared and disappeared to me 3 times. So he says that, the ghost shows up, he reaches out, his hand goes right through it. So we've got the Blaisdell family saying this is legit.
Yep.
We've got Nelly's dad saying it's legit.
Moses.
George saying it's legit. No, Moses.
Oh, wait, not Moses. Moses is George's dad. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So then in his own testimony, Frederic Halzov, George's friend who accompanied him, confirmed that he had seen George Butler place his hand on the apparition of Nelly Butler and, quote, saw his hand pass through it. Oh. So now we got some more people that are like, yeah, this is all fucking legit.
Yeah, I saw it. I seen it.
So now, Nelly's father, David, takes off and goes to visit Moses. He tells him that, hey, it turns out Abner and Lydia aren't full of shit, and that the ghost of his dead daughter is in their cellar. He says that he spoke with her himself, and he believes it, and now George's dad... Oh, and so then George's dad, Moses, is like...
Like, what do you want from me? Well, just fucking do it!
He's like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do this then. He's like, I guess. So he himself goes to Blaisdell's home and gives his approval for the marriage. Even after all of this, neither father is happy about it, though.
Yeah.
But they're now both reluctantly supporting it. The marriage was set to take place at Butler's Point on May 29th of 1800. So word got out about the marriage, and the locals were not happy that a 15-year-old was going to be marrying a 29-year-old.
But have they heard about the ghost?
Well, so then they were pretty fucking shocked to hear that Nelly Butler had not only returned as a ghost, but that it was her ghost that was behind the arrangement of the marriage.
Like you're just being haunted by your ex-wife.
So, rightfully so. Many were skeptical, and some started to believe that it was Lydia who was faking the entire thing to trick her and George's father into allowing their marriage. Others believed it was a demon of some sort, or possibly some sort of necromancy. So, Sally Wentworth, one of Nelly's sisters, was very skeptical of the whole thing, and visited the Blaisdell home with her husband. She said of the spirit, quote, "We heard the sound of knocking. Lydia spoke, and a voice answered, the sound of which brought fresh to my mind that of my sister's own voice. But I could not understand it at all, though it was within the compass of my embrace, and had it been a creature that actually breathed, it would have breathed in my face. I passed through the room, which led to the cellar and to another room, and there I was much surprised when I plainly understood the same voice, still speaking in the cellar, which said the words, 'I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness.' From this time, I cleared Lydia as to the voice and accused it of being the devil. It was an opinion she would hold until her dying day. Her Nelly's voice, or the voice she heard, sounded like the voice of her sister when her sister had been on her deathbed. So she's just like, that's the fucking devil.
Yeah.
Like, you got a demon in this goddamn house pretending to be my sister. But people continued to visit the home after hearing about the ghost of Nelly. At the insistence of one of the Blaisdell sons, Captain Paul Simpson happened to visit the home on the same day that Sally had been there. As was becoming customary by now, they went down into the cellar, put out the dim candlelight, and waited for the knocks. Nelly began knocking as expected, and when Paul spoke to her... Sorry. It was like
keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
It was very jazzy.
Yeah.
Skip it a boop.
Like no one answer.
When Paul spoke to her, she replied the same words as those she spoke to Sally earlier that day. I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Make his path straight. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. I don't know what the I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness thing is. And I think it's kind of like, it's suspect that it seems like on certain days, like the ghost just says the same shit to everybody. Like she comes up with one line. She's like, that's the one I'm going with today.
Yep.
So, now the guy who gathered all the testimonies we're talking about, Abraham Cummings, he theorized in a later letter on the subject that he believed the reason Nelly would knock to announce her presence was the same reason why a visitor would knock on someone's front door.
She's got manners.
And that she only answered upon being spoken to because she wanted to avoid startling anyone. Pretty, friendly ghost.
Friendly ghost. Yeah. Nelly the friendly ghost.
This measure of thoughtfulness extended further, according to Cummings, being also the reason why Nelly would generally only appear in the cellar, because, she didn't want to interrupt or to intrude on the private chambers of the rest of the house.
Yeah.
So, she's like, I'm not just going to show up at the fucking bedrooms.
Yeah, I could be doing anything.
Yeah. In general, this was a courtesy observed fairly faithfully by the spirit. However, she did reportedly also appear in other spots around the town, and on a handful of occasions, visited houses as far as 5 miles from the farm. which I'm sure is not just people being like, I also went in.
Yeah.
Her operations, however, were not always indoors. Paul Blaisdell testified to seeing the spirit in the fields around the home in the latter half of January.
Sometimes you gotta get out and stretch them ghost legs.
Well, he had been one of the ones, even though he was a part of the family, he had been very outspoken against this whole thing. He would tell everybody in town, this is all bullshit. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
But then he says, quote, I particularly observed that she never touched the ground. She appeared as white as possible. The next evening she reproved me in the hearing of several persons because I had not spoken to her, and because I had spoken against her. She told me she had come on God's errand, and that if I opposed her, I opposed him who sent her. The spirit asked me if I lived in such a manner as I would wish to die. So now the ghost is fucking threatening people.
Yeah.
And this was apparently outside.
That was her brother.
Right?
Right?
Well, it was, Lydia's brother.
Oh, Lydia's brother.
So now, Lydia apparently still had some reservations about the whole marriage thing. She reportedly told her friends about having doubts about everything, and she discussed plans of running away before the marriage. She had relatives in New York and was planning on stowing away on a ship to go and stay with them. She eventually told George of these plans, and she broke off their engagement and relationship.
Nelly gonna be pissed.
So, but at this point, though, George was pretty fucking stoked that he was going to be marrying a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Because George is a scumbag.
He's pretty gross.
Yeah. So he protested this whole thing about her ending the
He
relationship.
doused the protest.
But Lydia held strong and remained firm in her plans to leave
Go,
Maine.
girl.
However,
Oh, no.
the ghost of Nelly Butler then appeared to Lydia, apparently in front of several witnesses, and urged her to stay by basically threatening that no matter where she went, she would haunt her. And so, on the 29th of May, Lydia Blaisdell married George Butler. The day after their marriage, Nelly visited the newlyweds and delivered a message to them. She claimed that Lydia would become pregnant and give birth to just one child before succumbing to an untimely death, much in the same fashion that Nelly herself had been taken from the world.
Yeah.
And with that, the Blaisdell cellar grew quiet for some time without any sightings of Nelly's ghost or sounds of knocking. This absence lasted for 63 days. And then Nelly's ghost became a fucking event. Like, she started selling out the house.
Yeah.
She would draw in more people than I've wrestled in front of wrestling shows.
Yeah.
Like, her shit was drawing more than, like, stand-up shows have drawn. Like,
Wow.
On at least 29 occasions in August of 1800,
Who books that?
she was witnessed by over 100 people. The ghost would invite visitors into the cellar. Abner Blaisdell would blow out the candle.
Come on down.
And then a series of knocks would announce the arrival of Nelly's ghost. So many people started showing up at the Blaisdell home for a chance to see the ghost that the cellar would routinely be packed with crowds. Nelly's ghost would talk to the crowd for 2 to 3 hours at a time
What a sellout.
about a number of topics. It was like she was suddenly performing.
Yeah.
So, like, how would you feel if, like,
2 shows this weekend?
somebody gets a hold of you and they're like, hey, we got an opening spot for you right before the ghost? Like, would you be down for that?
Like, I don't want to talk to the ghost, man.
Well, the ghost isn't going to talk to you, Joel.
Okay,
You're the
good.
opener.
Okay, yeah, that's
Come
true.
on. But yeah, she's doing like 2 to 3 nights a week. Like, she's...
There's not a lot going on in 1800.
That's true.
Netflix was still a couple years away.
So during these...
they're going to go see some ghosts.
A couple years away.
Couple.
During these visitations, she was not always visible to everyone in the room at the same time. At times, she never appeared at all. On others, she appeared only to a select few. And then others, standing mere feet away, saw nothing. She always appeared wearing a glowing white dress, or a shroud, and at times she wore a cap and others not. Sometimes she was seen cradling the body of her dead baby in her arms.
Oh, Jesus.
Mary Gordon described one of her shows in a later testimony. Quote, at first the apparition was a mere mass of light, then grew into a more personal form, about as tall as myself. We stood in 2 ranks about 4 or 5 feet apart. Between these ranks, she slowly passed and repassed, so that any of us could have handled her. When she passed by me, her nearness was that of contact, so that if there had been a substance to touch, I should have certainly felt it. The glow of the apparition had a constant tremulous motion. Nelly's voice would flitter across the room, instantaneously moving from a distance of 10 to 12 feet from the spectators. At other times, she'd be like right in the ear of somebody.
Yeah.
It would just be all over the place. All of this activity invited many skeptics. Some professed that the voice of the spirit was merely the voice of Lydia Blaisdell.
Mm-hmm.
However, Nelly addressed this directly by
it's me.
She would send Lydia away in front of the skeptics. Quote, about 14 persons, by the direction of the specter, went into the cellar. As soon as they were there, the specter said to Lydia Blaisdell, "Go up and sit with the others on the kitchen hearth, that this company may know that it is not you who speaks." After she was gone up, the ghost conversed with the company on several topics suited to authenticate her mission. Likewise, Nelly spoke of her past life to others in an attempt to win over their belief. Quote, she mentioned several incidents of her past life, known only to her husband, as he declared, and asked him if he remembered them. He said yes. She asked him if he had told them to anyone else. He said no. And of such nature were these incidents as to render it utterly improbable that he ever should have mentioned them before. So, according to this dude, these are things that only he would know.
Yeah.
So,
how's Nelly?
That's proof. She told this is kind of weird. She told Abner Blaisdell that his father was in heaven praising God with the angels. It turns out that Abner's father had been sick, lives in New York, and that 7 days prior to this, unbeknownst to Abner at the time, his father had died.
He did?
His family in New York hadn't been able to send the message hadn't been received until like several days afterwards. So the ghost somehow knew this before Abner even did. Supposedly. The ghost would routinely invite people to stand as near as they pleased to her, to handle her if they wished, and to not be afraid, and to ask as many questions as they liked concerning her past life, apparently responding to them all with satisfactory answers. As more and more people crammed into the cellar to speak with Nelly, more and more also spoke in hushed tones of the devilry coming from the cellar. But then, as a kind of like answer for this, like to combat that, she became more religious. Like when the more talk of like this is the devil, this is a demon, she started being like super religious. On the 1st of August, or sometime early in August, when a witness named Paul Simpson asked her if she loved Christ, she replied, "Yes, I do," and began singing Hallelujah, which she would then continue on to do routinely. That would become part of her act.
Part of her act.
Sarah Simpson asked her if she came from happiness or misery. She replied, "I am from above, and I come on God's message." And then she broke out into a chorus of more hallelujahs. She addressed the topic directly with a local skeptic who had proclaimed to many around the town that the spirit was the work of the devil. Quote, "You have often said that I am a devil or a witch," she said while addressing him. Quote, "I am from above, praising God and the Lamb." So she was just confronting skeptics at this point.
Calling them out.
By the night of August 9th, things were getting a little rough down in the Blaisdell basement. A large crowd had gathered, and many of them sought to confirm their belief that a fraud was being played out by the family. There was a lot of pushing and shoving, and several people took it upon themselves to impersonate the familiar knockings of Nelly Butler's ghost. This eventually led to those people being removed of the situation by Abner. He's like a bouncer.
You've been warned, buddy.
So one skeptic, going back again to that Paul Simpson guy, he left disappointed that night after seeing nothing. There was nothing there. He didn't see anything. So he's a big skeptic. But as he walked home, however, he decided that his feeling of dissatisfaction would not go away unless he could uncover this deception. He returned to the farmhouse, gained entry into the cellar by Abner, and was invited to light a candle and search until his heart's content. He gave the following account of his investigation. Quote, "I came out last and was careful and watched, so that I was sure that no person went down. Also, the door was fast. Then again, we heard the sound of knocking. It was addressed, and conversation followed, in the midst of which Abner Blaisdell said to me, "If you think any living person talks, go forward and grasp that person." I went forward a few steps, but was so convinced that nobody was there that I considered all further attempts as useless. So now this, like, skeptics are just getting, like, their minds are being changed left and right.
Just one by one, Nelly's working on them.
And then he says that he saw the apparition of Nelly Butler. And he describes it in a pretty weird way. He says that the apparition at first was about 2 feet in height, but as it drew nearer to me, it appeared as tall as a person. I saw the appearance passing close by me from 5 or 6 times, changing heights every time. At last it diminished about a foot in height and then vanished. So, I mean, that sounds like a projection.
Yeah.
But it's 1800.
What are they, is there a gas leak down there?
Like, I mean, I suppose there could
have
be
gas back there?
They could have figured out some way to do this with mirrors.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that sounds like some sort of reflection, some sort of, like I said, a projection. Like, the closer you get, the bigger, you know.
You can't touch it. Well, I mean, I guess you can't touch a ghost.
Like basically, like holograms.
That's a lot of ghosting, though.
That's what they're fucking doing.
Nelly's doing.
In 1800.
She ain't resting none.
So things had finally reached a head, and the people of Franklin and Sullivan were no longer speaking quietly. Divisions sprang as different sides of the argument as to the veracity of the events were now outwardly spoken, and the events in the Blaisdell cellar were the talk of the town. On the night of either the 13th or 14th of August, 47 people gathered to see the spirit of Nelly Butler. Never one to let the people down, Nelly had something special arranged this night. She was seeking to end the voices of dissenters once and for all. At 1 o'clock in the morning, she commanded the congregation to march to a neighboring house belonging to one of the loudest skeptics in the village, James Miller. The walk covered 2 miles, and in the journey, the group was ordered to file side by side in groups of 2 and sing the 84th Psalm as they walked. Nelly assured them that she would follow right behind them as they walked. Several witnesses claimed to have seen her walking with them as they marched through the night, while others saw nothing. When they reached James...
there's no street lights back then, so...
There was gas lights, right?
Yeah, lanterns. Probably had those.
So when they reached James Miller's house, the crowd squeezed in through his front door, while Paul Blaisdell asked him if he would allow them into his cellar. He complied, and when he stood below in the cellar...
Come on in, angry mob.
The voice of Nelly Butler rang out around him. Quote, "I have come to let you know that I can speak in this cellar as well as the other. Are you convinced?" He was. He went outside and joined the rest of the group.
Easily convinced.
And they all stood out there waiting for the reappearance of Nelly. And she appeared. She commanded them to continue marching. She would walk, and now, so they're going back to the Blaisdell house. And this time she walked alongside Lydia at the head of the parade. And this, she said, would finally put an end to the talk that Lydia was the one behind this. Because, hey, I'm right here. Yeah. Lydia's here.
Yeah, same place, same time.
So then they went back to the Blaisdell farm. And several people, including many of the skeptical, testified to seeing Lydia walk alongside the spirit. Following the parade, things began to settle down on the farm, but not before the ghost of Nelly Butler would command one last act. She ordered that her deceased child be dug up and reburied closer to her own grave on Butler Point.
Why would they not bury him?
So again, that's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I guess you said she died a day later.
But still,
yeah.
Like, where the fuck did you bury the baby?
Yeah.
She wanted them to be close together. That way they would be able to rise into heaven together on Judgment Day. Over 80 people from 4 different towns gathered on the hillside to bear witness to the affair as the remains of the newborn were moved 30 feet up Butler's Point and buried next to Nelly Butler. For the most part, this ended the visitations for good. But there was one more twist coming. So throughout all of this shit, after they've been married in May, so May, or the end of May they were married, so June, July, through August, this is all, whatever.
We said they didn't really hear from her for a couple of months. So probably June, July, she wasn't around.
So they settled into their married life. George and Lydia did. They moved in together, lived on Butler's Point in Franklin, and Lydia fell pregnant with their first child, who was expected to be born in March of 1801. The childbirth was not an easy one, and just as the fucking ghost said, Neither Lydia nor the baby survived the ordeal. Both were buried alongside Nelly and her child on Butler's Point. Then, shortly after the death, George Butler, unexplainably, put all of Lydia's belongings onto a boat and floated it off into the river, set it on fire. Like a Viking funeral.
Yeah, Viking funeral.
The tides pulled the boat out across the bay, and it actually sailed right past the Blaisdell farm, who saw this as an affront to their daughter. This is super disrespectful.
Yeah, burning all their stuff.
They cut all ties with George, or they would never forgive George for doing this. And this split the local church. Like, he was no longer allowed in this church, and like half of the church thought that this was disrespectful and something was up. The other half just thought he's
grieving, let him grieve. Yeah.
There was an investigation into the whole thing. There were people in the church sided with both Abner and George. George went on to marry a third woman named Mary. The couple had 4 children together.
Oh, wow. Did she die after each one?
She apparently was good. She was good. Nelly appeared only once more, and this was to that evangelist, Abraham Cummings. He had not really been around for much of the events. He had been the one to come in later to gather all the testimonies.
Yeah.
And he was always, when he had been at the Blaisdell house before, he was pretty unimpressed with everything. Like, he didn't really see anything. But when he returned to this town, and everybody was talking about it, he had to do something. So he collected all the eyewitness testimonies of local people. He published them all in a collection of letters. And in 1806, he had been alerted by 2 men that the ghost of Nelly had been seen outside his house in the fields. And this is what he wrote about that. Looking toward an eminence 12 rods distance from the house. I don't know how 12 rods is. 12 feet, 12 yard, 12 whatever. I saw there, as I supposed, one of the white rocks. This confirmed my opinion on the ghost, and I paid no more attention to it. 3 minutes later, I accidentally looked in the same direction, and the white rock was in the air, its form a complete globe, white with a tincture of red, and its diameter about 2 feet. While my eye was constantly upon it, I went on forward 5 or 6 steps, when it came to me from the distance of 11 rods, as quick as lightning, and instantly assumed a personal form with a female dress. I went into the house to document the information, not doubting that Nelly Butler had come to spend some time with us before she left for good. We went out to see her again, but to my great disappointment, she had vanished. So,
that's why you see a ghost, you don't go back inside, you stay out there with the ghost.
So, like, what the fuck happened?
It's so long ago.
There's supposedly...
It's like 220 years ago.
1800.
Yeah. And it's just like, I could believe like maybe some of that happened. But man, that's crazy.
That many people were willing to say that, this was...
I mean, I think back then...
I mean, people could buy into something like that a lot easier.
Yeah, maybe people, they wanted to believe it. I think maybe that could be the case. Where like a couple people see it, and they're so passionate about it. They're like, yeah, I see it too. I see her. You see her? They're like, yeah, they want to see her. I don't know.
I mean, the weird thing to
me... I guess I believe in that stuff.
The weird thing to me is when there was the groups gathered in the cellar. And they would talk about how she would just sit and talk to them for like hours.
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird fucking thing to... Like,
why hasn't that stuff happened since with any other like ghosts,
So I don't know what you could I don't know what, because without really knowing more information, I mean, you got to remember that she was one of 9 kids.
Yep.
Lydia or Nelly was. But then Lydia had 6 siblings. So I mean, it's not entirely impossible to think that like Lydia was actually super into marrying George. And she convinced her sisters or whatever to help her.
Yeah.
And that they were all kind of like in the cellar in the dark.
It could snowball and
I don't know how you would fake the looking like Nelly.
Yeah.
Butler. Like, why would her father be like, yeah, I saw her? Unless he just really wanted to believe it. But like, how many people wanted to believe it that bad?
They just... I don't know.
And then for her to die, I mean, at the time, it's probably not unheard of that, like, you could probably bet.
Yeah.
You'd have a 50-50 shot that they're going to die during childbirth.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
It's probably what, yeah.
It's not like now where, like, that's a more rare thing.
Yeah, it's kind of routine and.
Yeah.
They didn't have quite the medical advances back then, obviously.
So I don't know. Weird fucking story, though.
I don't know.
Like, it's one of the more. I mean, it's documented by one guy.
Yeah.
To be fair. So, you're taking the word of one guy.
He's an evangelist. So maybe he made it all up to try to get, so he could take it to other towns and make money off that story. And
so people have went to the location where this happened, and they have found graves for George Butler and other people in the story. So it's like at least confirming that these people existed.
Yeah.
Kind of confirming it, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean,
so long ago.
Definitely could just be this Abraham Cummings guy just making this shit all up.
Maybe like it started with a little kernel of truth about hearing the knocking or
and then
hearing the voice or something, and then he just takes it to what he wants it to be.
Right. So
I don't know. It's a good story. They talk weird back then.
They do.
They talk a lot more than what they need to. Be like, yeah, I seen her. Be like, she doubts come and settle before my gaze, and
yeah, I feel like conversations back then had to just be fucking terrible.
What else are they gonna do? They're just like, come sit here with me in the same presence of the air that we breathe, and lay your eyes upon me, and let my words wash over your ears. Like, just come sit and talk, man.
Do you think there's like one, like back then though, like, there'd be some people that were like, they'd want to say a bunch of things like that, but then like they'd be talking to somebody that like didn't have a lot to say, so like one person would spend 5 minutes saying something, just like for the other guy to be like, yeah, okay, I hear you, man.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, that was the story of America's First Ghost.
America's First Ghost.
It wouldn't be till later that I think they were the name. I think it's the Fox sisters. I think they were the ones that kind of brought. It'd be years later. They were the ones that brought the whole thing of like ghosts and hauntings more to like mainstream, because they were the ones that would do like seances and stuff. But they had their stuff rigged up to where like underneath the table they could hit something and it would.
So it wasn't real.
And like they ended up getting like debunked. But then they tried to like turn around and say that I forget, like they said that they were faking it, but only to make people believe because it is real. Like but this was the
y'all got caught.
This was like the first documentation of like a mass of people believing in a ghost story.
Too bad they didn't have phones, because then they could have called somebody. Who they gonna call?
That's awful. I'm mad I played into that.
Ghostbusters!
Wow. Okay. So that's going to be really loud when you're listening.
Wake up, people.
Yeah, so we're going to be... I meant to say this last episode and I forgot. We'll be posting a new episode every other Monday.
Yep.
So 2 episodes a month, or 3, depending on how the calendar goes.
Some months are longer.
We've got something cool coming up at the end of October. For our October 26th episode, we've got something cool coming up for that one.
Yep.
We started working on... continued working on a project.
We started
14 months
2
years ago?
Yeah.
Was it not quite that long?
I think I was living at the apartment, so it's been at least in the last 14 months.
Okay. Yeah, I think
or at
so.
my house. I was definitely not married when we did it. I don't think.
I don't remember.
I don't know either. And plus, it was at the newest gym, so it can't be.
Yeah, it was at the old Bent Barbell Club.
Yeah.
So we started working on that last night. We filmed some new stuff for it. I'm gonna be working on putting together like a little trailer this weekend.
Yeah.
Like a little something to post for everybody. But I think it's gonna be funny. I think
so. It was fun to do.
We're gonna kind of find the direction of it as we go.
Yeah. We don't know what we're doing. I mean, you kind of do. We're just messing around.
Not really.
It's having fun.
Yeah, it's something to do. Something to like. There's been so many times throughout the years where I've had where I've worried about something not being perfect.
Yeah.
So then I just don't do it. But no, I'm just like, fuck, let's just do some shit. Like, let's just
put shit out there.
Yeah.
I like to do more of that. I went back and watched the little music video that I was in for the Mega Flowers. If you can Google Mega Flowers, and it's I don't know, it's like a music video, and I like kind of acting, I guess.
Right.
It's fun.
You were in a movie.
Yeah, I was in a movie. You wrote the scene.
Stoner number. I didn't write that scene.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did.
No.
Stoner 1, and She's So Pretty 2.
Yeah. No, I didn't write that.
Okay.
I mostly wrote the stuff with Justin.
Just take credit
and Elvis's
for it.
Characters. Is mostly what I wrote.
Yeah.
And then some stuff.
That's good stuff.
With the detective. Some of his stuff.
But yeah, I had a scene in that. Got to do a little bit of I hate to call it acting because I don't know.
You were playing yourself.
Yeah. I was like having fun.
It's
a
good
fun.
scene, though. It's a really good scene. Yeah. It was.
Yesterday was more of a character stuff that we were doing, so that was fun.
Yeah. But so I'll try to have something. We'll try to have something.
About another year and a half.
By the time you hear this, it'll be Monday.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you're listening to it, we'll be posting this on Monday, the 14th, and I will try to have something posted that week from what we did.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for that.
We'll be coming back in 2 weeks with a new episode.
2 weeks, 14 days.
And until then, you got anything else?
Keep it mediocre, baby.
Stay middle-aged. If you're there, stay there. Don't age from there. And if you're not there, hurry up and get there.
Come on.
Hurry up and age.
Join us. Thanks.
Yep. See you guys later.